Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new year of the Booktube Chicks Book Club. Today, we're going to be talking about Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, and all three of us have different covers of this book. I am joined by Kathleen and Desiree, as usual, and I'm going to let them go ahead and introduce themselves. If you've never done one of our live shows before, the way we do things is we introduce ourselves and talk about our initial thoughts of the book, which are spoiler free, and then we get into spoilers and chit chat for about an hour. So I'm gonna go ahead and let Kat introduce herself since she's on whichever side, me this side. Um, so you go ahead and you can talk about your initial thoughts and all that jazz.
Okay, hello guys, I'm Kathleen and my channel is For the Love of Books. I finished reading this book yesterday. For those wondering, this is the Fairy Loot Pretty Edition. Um, and so I think you guys finished it before me, so I have the freshest thoughts. I will say I have read Caraval before, and I only read Caraval. I never actually finished the trilogy, mostly because I didn't think Caraval was wasn't all as that special. It was blowing up on BookTube when I first read it, and now it's blowing up on Book Talk as well. But um, I read it. I didn't think it was special. I think I rated it like a 3 or 3.5. So I never continued on with the series because I was never really interested in reading the rest of the series. But I actually really, really enjoyed this book. So I was surprised to find out that this is actually set in the same world as Caraval. And finishing this book, it actually made me want to go back and read Caraval just to see if maybe I missed something the first time around that I read it, because I really, really liked this book. I gave it a 4 stars right now, but I'm covering around a 4 to 4.5. I thought the characters were interesting. I thought the magic with the whole fates was interesting. It did leave us on a bit of a cliffhanger. Um, so I am very intrigued to read on to the next book. I believe this is going to be a trilogy, and I really do hope that Fairy Loot does do special covers for the rest of the series because it is just really gorgeous. But yes, I'm very surprised by how much I liked this book, because I wasn't like, my expectations were low just because I didn't really enjoy Caraval all that much. But again, this book actually made me interested in rereading Caraval. But yeah.
So I'm in the same exact boat as Kat. I also read Caraval and didn't care too much for it. I didn't continue with the series. And I wasn't really following much about this book. I didn't have too much of an interest in picking it up because of my feelings about Caraval, but I really, really enjoyed it, and I felt like I was really interested in seeing where it was going and what the story was trying to say and what her relationship was going to end up being with that fate whose name now escapes me. But I feel like I was very much invested in the story in the book, which is why I felt like it was a 5 star for me. And not only am I looking forward to the second book, but I really do want to go back and reread Caraval and maybe complete that series. I watched a review on this specifically, and somebody was talking about some of the connections that I obviously didn't pick up on because I hadn't read the Caraval series, and I was like, oh my god, that's who that character was. So I'm genuinely interested in kind of getting the backstory of the characters in the Caraval world now.
What was your rating again, Desiree?
5 stars.
Okay. And I am on the complete opposite end where I have never read any of the Caraval books. So this book has been marketed as you don't have to read Caraval to read this book, which is something that initially pulled me towards it. And I did know that it was set in the same world, but I knew nothing about Caraval, had no interest in reading it, all that. Um, and then shortly before we started reading it, I got a little worried because I either read a review or like watched a video where somebody who was a big fan of Caraval was reading it, and she was saying that, it spoils the entire series like by like chapter 10 of this book. And I think I'll talk about that in a little bit, but it didn't really affect me as much because I didn't know anything that happened in the original book. That being said, I enjoyed this book, but I don't think it wasn't a 4 for me, but it also wasn't just okay. So I met in the middle at a 3.5 star. Um, and I mean that's all I really have to talk about for spoiler free. Um, but I am interested to talk more spoilers, considering that you guys have read Carwell and I have not. So I guess we can go ahead and jump right into spoilers with whatever we want to talk about.
I want to say that even though I did read Caraval, I don't remember what happened in that book. I don't even remember what the book is about. It's been so long, and because at the first time when I read it, I didn't enjoy it. I completely ended up letting myself forget all the details. So, Desiree, if you remember, you'll probably
So
to remind me.
I didn't remember this, but because I had watched that review recently, the connection was kind of spelled out for me, and I was like, "Oh my god, what?" So the fate, what's his name?
I think his name is Jack.
Okay, all right, Jack. So they're talking about Jack having this broken heart with someone, right? And she's named as Donatella, and I didn't think anything of it, but apparently Donatella is Tella from Caraval. And so I think they like some of their relationship shows up in there. And Donatella was Scarlett's sister, I believe. It's been a really long time since I've read it, but I'm pretty sure that's like the connection there. And so I think Jack appears maybe in the third book. So like, but it sounded like, because the person who was reviewing it was like really upset because it sounded like they were supposed to be fated to be together according to the Caraval series. And then she was like, they're probably going to make it where this new chick is supposed to be his actual love. And she was like, I'm going to be so angry if that's what happens.
Well, because in this book, I remember distinctly remembering they were talking in that Jax was supposed to have this, fated romance with whoever was his one true love, whatever, but that she rejected him because of things that he did. So I don't know. Maybe that's the author's way of trying to give him a second chance at another love. I don't know.
Let me tell you what I gathered from this as an outsider in this case. As far as like the connection to Caraval and all that crap. For me, so we're introduced to Evangeline, and she doesn't want what's his name to get married to her stepsister. Okay, so there's that. So then she meets Jack. Jack stops it by turning everybody to stone. She makes the sacrifice and she turns herself to stone. Okay, so from my understanding, because I think it's spelled out in the book, is that she was stone for 6 weeks. And in that 6-week time period, all the events of Caraval happened. And
wait, is that your theory or is that actually what happened?
That's my theory based off of what happened, I think.
Okay.
Because I remember when she had come out from being stone and she was meeting Scarlet, and Scarlet was now like the Empress, I think. And they said like, oh, Scarlet saved everybody from whatever happened, I can't remember. And this all happened within the time that I was stone. So that's what I gathered from that as an outsider. So kind of the books are like kind of coincide, but really everything from the first trilogy happened in that 6 weeks that she was stoned.
I mean, it's a good theory. Like, but again, I don't remember anything about Caraval, so I guess I can't. But it's a good theory. Wait, is it me? I can't hear anybody.
I can't hear anything either. Like, Desiree, I saw you talking and I saw
Desiree,
you
I
weren't
can't hear
muted.
you.
We can't hear you at all.
Yeah, and you weren't muted either.
No, you still can't hear
Okay.
me?
Oh, there we
Okay,
go.
I
We
can
can hear
hear
you
you
now.
now.
Okay.
So
So
say that all over again.
what I said was that when Evangeline went to go see Jack, when she went to go see the Fate, he already had his legend about him that had been known and talked about, where he would kiss somebody and kill them because of that lost love, which means that lost love would have happened before the start of this book, which would have been the series, which would have been Caraval. So that's why I don't think it would have happened within that 6 weeks. I mean, unless there's overlap, which I'm sure there could be, but because there are 3 books, but it sounds like that romance that he had with Donatella was prior to this book starting.
Yeah, my guess is going to be that there's overlap, because even when I was like thinking this through, where I was like, there's no way that the events of 3 books happened supposedly within 6 weeks. But yeah, there's probably overlap on that. One thing that kind of like drew me towards this book, because when it was announced last year, I'd put it on my want to read shelf, and then I was like, I don't know, and I took it off. And then I put it back on there later on, because I was really intrigued by the fact that this didn't sound like a super like it didn't sound like super fantasy like the original series did, and it was more like fairy tale-esque and like and romance-esque. And I kind of liked those. I liked those aspects, in the fact that this wasn't like super heavy fantasy, but we still had the fates, and that kind of brought in like a mythological aspect,
Yeah,
in my
I
opinion.
don't think it was meant to be like super high fantasy like a Sarah J. Maas book is. I think this was more like, I was thinking more it was in the realm of like a fairy tale retelling, but not really based off of a retelling. That's the kind of fantasy that I was thinking when I went into this book.
It felt like a very rough Cinderella retelling.
Yeah.
So, what did you think of Jack as a character? Like, do you have any thoughts in regards to? I feel like I was waiting the whole book. Like, are they going to get together? They're going to get together, right? Like, I was just like waiting for that to happen, and that cliffhanger just.
He reminded me of more of a Chloe, you're not gonna get this because you haven't watched Game of Thrones, but he reminded me of a more likable Littlefinger, in that I didn't trust him at all. Like, he's the type of guy I was like, you kind of like, yeah, you don't trust him at all. He's I feel like he was manipulative, and I feel like it was just who he is, but he's more of a likable Littlefinger, in which I hated Littlefinger, but I did like Jax. But yeah, that's who he reminded me of.
Okay, I know I haven't seen Game of Thrones, but even I'm like, why do they call him Littlefinger?
It's a good question. I don't know.
I don't know either. But I feel like, the book is written to make you not trust him, but at the same time, I don't feel like he did many untrustworthy things. Like, I think he's like a straight shooter, right? So when he says things, he kind of means them, and like people tend to interpret things where he's like, no, I said I was going to do this, and this is what I'm doing.
I mean, yes, but I also feel like every character in this book is untrustworthy. Like, I have absolutely no idea if Marisol, well, at the end it kind of showed her true colors, but at the whole book I was like, I don't know if I should trust Marisol. And then like that queen person, I don't know if she was a queen or empress, the one that sent her to the north in the first place, I don't know if I should trust them. So I feel like there's really no one in this book that I fully trust.
I can respect that and agree with that. I just feel like in the end, it's probably going to be Jack that was the most trustworthy of them all.
And to be honest, I only think did Marisol betray her? Because she really she called at the very we're skipping to the end, and I apologize, but she called the guards on the end after Evangeline admitted to her, hey, everything that happened at your wedding was because of me, because I was jealous, and she got pissed off, and she called the guards. But so was she a traitor to Evangeline or not? Because I don't know whether she is or not.
I mean,
but she did. I mean, because Tiberius, whatever his name is, the
brother.
The brother, yeah, I forgot the first guy's name. The brother, he was pretty quick to punish her by locking her in her room. After, so I don't know. I don't know if Marisol actually did put a love spell on Tiberius as well. That's like she did with Luke.
I didn't trust Marisol. Like, regardless of what she was saying, I really didn't trust her. And like, if you are a good person and you're just misunderstood and things happen, then I don't think she would have called the guards on Evangeline. I mean, it seems like she's had motives the whole time.
She started acting nicer to Evangeline. I thought that she humbled herself a little bit, but then when she was announced that she was engaged to Tiberius, I was like, oh, she's a backstabbing bee. But then she tried to help Evangeline by hiding her from the guards, and she only turned her back on Evangeline when Evangeline told her the truth of what happened at the wedding. So I was like, I don't know if she's like a bad guy or not, And I'm wondering if we're going to see her in the next books. I feel like she wasn't that big of a character to begin with. Like, she was big enough, but not that huge. I feel like she wasn't huge to the plot. Like, I feel like if she wasn't there, she wouldn't have changed the story at all to me.
I don't know. I think the story would have changed a bit, especially because like she's the one who separated Evangeline from her love. But it sounds like he was trouble all along. So
I was gonna say, I was like, she dodged the bullet with Luke. Okay, like I don't even. He's also another one I don't trust. So,
well,
but it's also not his fault.
Didn't he die? Didn't he die after the vampire thing?
I'm sorry?
Didn't he die after the vampire thing? Because he got out and he bit Jack.
He did not die.
Didn't he die? No. Oh.
So okay, what Jax did, he snapped his neck, which rendered him like unconscious. But in order to actually kill a vampire, he said that you have to behead them or stab them in the heart with a wooden stake. So technically, Luke is still alive and a full vampire. But also Luke, I just like, again, I don't know where I stand with most of these characters. Luke was under a love spell when he married Marisol, and then my only question is how did he ever say how he ended up with the vampires?
He was going to, because he had scars and he didn't want the scars anymore, so he was going to try and like fix himself.
Right. Okay. But again, that's dumb.
Okay, so my thoughts are that I agree. I don't trust anybody, except I think that Jack is being built up to be one of those like grumpy characters where like, yeah, he seems like an ass, but he's really not. Because he's already saved Evangeline a handful of times. So it's probably one of those going to be like a classic, like he starts out grumpy and then they're together.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if this turns into like a story that has like multiple retellings in it. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe there was like some remnants of Cinderella, and later down the line we might see a little bit of Beauty and the Beast, and then like that wouldn't surprise me, because I could see that, because like he won't tell her what he wants her for, and I can't help but feel like, you know, it has something to do with a spell or a legend where like her feelings have to be authentic, so he can't tell her what the purpose is because she needs to come to that realization on her own.
I kind of want to know why he wants to use her to open that Valorian, whatever it's called, the Valori door. He wants to use her to do that. And I'm
The
just
arch or
wondering
something?
what's really behind that door, because the book goes into detail about what he wants is to have that one true love that, that his legend, whatever, talks about, and that he wants it back. And I wonder what's behind the door will kind of reverse what happened, because the book says that his love Donatella rejected him because of things that he did. And so I'm just wondering if maybe what's behind the door will kind of reverse whatever happened, and he would be able to get a chance at love again. Right.
I forgot about the door thing, so that makes him that makes him less trustworthy than again, in my opinion.
But like, if you listen to the way he talks about Donatella, it's not like someone who's in love.
Well, not anymore, probably because he was disappointed by.
Yeah,
what he
but
thought
like
was.
his legend, the fact that he was, supposed to have his one true love, it never said. The feeling that I got is that it never said that they were gonna instantly fall in love with each other.
Right.
And I feel like it just said that they were destined together.
That's why I feel like it's
but not
Evangeline.
necessarily that, it would work out. So
That's why I think it's probably Evangeline and not Donatella.
I don't know if this matters, but I've read books in the past where kind of like this whole soulmates fated thing, where you have your soulmate, but that doesn't necessarily mean you end up with that said soulmate. So who knows? But yeah, I'm rooting for Evangeline and Jax, but I guess we'll see what happens in the next 2
And I feel like I asked this. This is supposed to be a duology, right?
Is it duology or is it trilogy?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm checking that now. I want to say it is a duology, but I'm still looking.
I think the next book comes out in like either August or September or something. Because as soon as I finish this, I added the next book to my wish list or my Goodreads. Because I was like, come on.
It doesn't say, but currently there's only 2 books on Goodreads, so I'm gonna go ahead and say it's a duology, but I'm not sure.
Is there a questions and answer section? Because usually sometimes
That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, I'm looking, and it comes out in September, at the very end of September. Yeah, I don't know. It's at the very least, it's a duology.
I feel there was a lot of characters in this.
Because there was a lot of like side quests.
Yeah. It seems like, and I didn't get a chance to really dive in deeper, but it seems like she was very purposeful with her names. I know Tiberius's brother was Apollo, which I felt really bad for him, that whole situation.
I'm not gonna lie, even though he was kind of under a spell, I really liked them together. He did get cringy at some points, but he was like, I don't know, I found like that scene where, I think it's the scene where he dies, where he's outside like serenading her or something, and she asks him to come up, but he takes that literally. He jumps like up her, like he climbs the building and it jumps inside her window, and I was like, that is so sweet. I don't know why, but it is. And I was really disappointed. Like, I was not gonna lie, I am a shipper of Jackson and Evangeline, but I'm also an Apollo and Evangeline shipper.
I don't know how people like would be comfortable living in a world where like love potions were a possibility. That would make me so uncomfortable. Like never knowing if somebody really loved me or never knowing if I really love someone, or that's just super messy.
I think that even though he was like under the spell, he was still very like I'm trying to look for the right word here. He was very passionate, I guess, in like his actions and all this stuff about how he loved her, regardless of whether it was true or not.
Yeah. I hope he of all people in the book gets a happy ending, because technically he's still alive. So
Wait, what was it that happened to him? They put him to like sleep or something? Was he in like a coma? I don't remember.
yeah, I don't know what that what was that bard's name? Hovland, whatever. They I don't know if he actually did something, or if the poison or Tiberius, when he tried to kill him, did something, but he kind of went into like this vegetative state, or they call him they said he's in like a suspended sleep. So they said that if he continues, I remember specifically that they told Evangeline that if he never wakes up, he will remain the same forever. Like he'll never age or anything. So it's important that he wakes up or something.
What did you think of Evangeline as a character? Because I don't know. Sometimes she reminded me of like Elena from the Vampire Diaries. Like
just
just
a girl looking for love. She was like disappointed and she made a rash decision, but then she tried to save everybody.
She's not a good listener though. She's like, even when people are obviously trying to help her, she kind of does her own thing.
Yes, she perfectly said. She does not listen to me. I think I like Evangeline as a character, but I think the most frustrating scene was the vampire den scene where she releases Luke, and I'm like, you are so dumb. I can't even deal with how dumb you are in this scene. Like, he's clearly manipulating you, and you're choosing to be like, what's the word? She's choosing to let herself be charmed by him. Saying he's like, oh, I'm not gonna, I just want to get out of here. I'm not gonna bite you. And then like she chooses to believe. I'm like, girl, he may like deep down inside her, he may not want to bite you, but he's changing right now. He's a changeling. His vampire instincts are taking over. You don't mess with that. Like, and the fact that she refuses to listen to Jax, and Jax is the one who faces the consequences of her actions, pisses me off. That whole scene, I just wanted to just scream at her, but otherwise I do like her as a character.
I feel like there's just overall a lot of like loose threads. There's just a lot to this story in regards to, like I forget the name of the family, right? But it was like a certain family or a certain order of people or like group that they were like protectors of the arch or something. Like, I guess I want to know more about them and exactly what they were doing and what they were protecting and what was sealed away. And then there's just a lot of stuff. Chloe in the chat says, I feel like Evangeline is such a hopeless romantic to a fault. Yes. Very much to a fault.
Yes. She allows herself to believe, like, there's nothing wrong with believing in, I think because she loved Luke so much and she believed that her happily ever after, like in the beginning, was supposed to be with Luke, and everything that happened was because she loved Luke so much. She just, sometimes you gotta think, okay, not let your heart make decisions for you. Sometimes you gotta use your brain. And I feel like that was that one moment that I wished she used her brain. And there, like I said, there's nothing wrong with being a hopeless romantic. In fact, I feel like sometimes it's her charm, and I find that she believes so much in like having a happily ever after. But girl, you gotta be logical. Like, you don't deal with vampire changelings, and you certainly don't believe whatever they're trying to tell you.
What do you think about the fact that Jack was trying to warn her? Jack was trying to warn her from Luke to begin with.
Like about the vampire thing, or just in general?
No, in general, like if you remember the first like chapter, like a bell was ringing, and that's when Luke walks in, or at least the assumption is that it was Luke that walked in. And I know at some other point you find out that Jax is the controller of the bell, or that's where his office is, or whatever. So the assumption is that he was trying to warn her away from Luke. So I don't know if that's because he knew what was going to happen or some other reason.
And the thing is, with that, I can't form an opinion, mostly because we did find out that Luke was under the spell of Marisol. So I don't know. I feel like this book left a lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah, obviously, because they're supposed to be answered in book 2.
I don't know. Like, I don't know who is genuine in this book. Like Marisol, I don't know if she is she's an actual traitor. Don't know if Luke was an actual traitor. So I just don't know.
Jack has to know something, even if he didn't know what was going on with Luke or what Luke's intentions were or whatever. Like, he must have already known that Evangeline was supposed to serve some purpose or do something, and maybe he was just trying to keep her open for that, so that she's not like confused by dealing with all these Luke related things.
Did because you read that like bonus epilogue thing in your copy, did that give any insight to anything?
Are you talking about the deleted scene?
It was literally an epilogue.
In the epilogue, there's an epilogue in the back of the Barnes & Noble copy. I don't know if there's anything special in the back of yours. There's nothing special in the back of mine.
There's a deleted scene. That's it on mine.
I'm wondering if that's where it was mentioned that his office was by the bell. Like, his office was up there where the bell was in the building across from where her store is. Do you remember reading that?
I don't remember.
Same, I don't remember.
Okay, so maybe that's where that information was. I know it's like somebody walked in and was like interviewing Jack. It was kind of weird because it felt out of place. It felt like a different time. Something else was going on. And there was a lot of redacted stuff, or there was enough redacted stuff that you kind of, it's hard to place where that moment in time is or why it's relevant. So I didn't feel like I got that much out of it, other than the whole thing about his office. And then Chloe also says, I wish it had had dual perspective because she wanted to read from Jack's point of view. That would have been cool. I didn't read the description for the next one. I wonder if she might do the next one from his point of view.
I don't know if there is one out yet, because when I was looking to see if it was a duology or not, I think it just said like the next in this series or something like that. Like, there was no description yet. I'm checking again though.
I think it might be hard to like get too much stuff from his point of view though, because he seems so secretive, and I would imagine the author didn't want to reveal too much about his intentions and stuff like that. But he is an interesting character. So what did you think about their like occasional like romantic interactions? Like, were you rooting for them? Were they eye rolling?
I was rooting for them, I'm not gonna lie, until Apollo showed up, and then I was rooting for them more. But I know he was under a spell, but I really liked Apollo. I just don't know why. But yes, I actually do want them. I want your theory to be true, that she's the one that he's supposed to be with, really, his legend, whatever, in Donatella. So yeah, I'm hoping.
I don't remember. Did they say how many fates there were? Are there 7 fates? Am I making that up?
I don't remember because we saw him and there was chaos. Can't remember.
And
Who
then
else.
that girl with the poison, she's another
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, the girl with the poison. So we saw at least 3.
I want to say you're right. I think there's like, I was thinking 8, but I think it's 7 or 8. I'm not sure.
I look forward to hearing like the backstory to the other fates.
I feel like that could be something like because she has like X amount of fates, that's something she could do like offshoot little like short stories or like a guidebook kind of thing. Kind of like how Lee Bardugo has the Lives of Saints, like kind of like that.
One thing, she didn't appear very much as the poison fate person, the one with the uncontrollable tears. The fact that when they went to her to try to, Jax and Evangeline went to her to help her with Evangeline's uncontrollable tears. The fact that she started calling Evangeline her friend, and it was almost like pushing her, hey, we're gonna be friends now, and it just felt creepy, so I don't trust her either.
Yeah, that was a little weird too.
I felt like it was just too sudden. I'm like, she's like, we're friends now, we're gonna be friends, and I'm just like, you just met me like 5 seconds ago. Let's calm down a little.
I forgot about the uncontrollable tears part though. And I feel like even though I just made this like connection here, even though they're kind of like Jack and Evangeline are on this I guess we can call it journey. The fact that one of the things for helping Evangeline with her uncontrollable tears was that Jack needed to hold her and comfort her. It was kind of almost like a forced proximity kind of thing, like bringing in like the subtle tropes.
Yeah, some of it was like, like super expected and tropey, and um but I was rooting for them anyway. So like there was, I don't know, at one point they were like in a dark cave or something, and they were like hugging. I think they were hugging for warmth. Was that what was happening? I believe. But he did kiss her too, though.
I don't remember that scene.
Unless I'm confusing it with something else, but I feel like there was something that they were doing. They were trying to get close for warmth, waiting for the night to pass.
I thought that was where she had to be comforted.
Because she was crying.
The two thing I remember that part, and I remember when he was bitten and they were
I think that's when it
out
was.
in, like,
It was like after the vampires.
Oh yeah, because he was like, well, okay, because after he had been bitten and then he was like hidden in the crypt the whole night.
There you go.
He was like exhausted after, and he like fell asleep. I remember that part.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't remember anything about cuddling for warmth. I remember he got bit and they went to the crypt and they tried to lock him away because he wanted to bite her. And then he was able to escape, and they had a moment where he was about to bite her, but then the sun came up and like the poison, whatever, dissipated from his system. So he was no longer a changeling. And then he was really tired and she had to get him to his house so he could sleep it off. Yeah. That's what I remember.
Chloe says the romance was non-existent. I saw no chemistry or tension. It was like there must have been just enough for me to be like, but are they going to get together? Like, you know, like I don't remember like necessarily feeling butterflies, but I remember just being so attached to the story, wanting to find out like, when does it happen? When do they get together? When do they find out? When do they reveal their feelings for each other? Like, and the pages kept like going down and down. And I was like, no, there's still like 20 pages. She could still do this. When is it going to happen? So mad when I got to the end.
No, I agree. I think the author gave just enough for us to start imagining a romance, but I don't think she necessarily tried to put romance there. I think she just it's like you say, I think she just put enough for us to start imagining that there could potentially be a romance.
How did you feel about vampires being included? Because I know that was like, there was people on both sides of that, I guess. You know, some people are just like vampires anytime, and some people thought it was a little strange to introduce vampires.
I like that it wasn't a death sentence. So they said that these people go to the vampires and, you know, they allow themselves to be bitten and infected with the vampire venom. And then that all their like imperfections go away. But they have until like the sunrise for them to feed off of a human and become a permanent vampire. But I like that it wasn't permanent if they aren't able to do it. So it's not like they just drop dead and die if the sun comes up and they're still, you know, locked in the cage, as we saw with Jax, where he, you know, the sun came up and he was okay. I mean, obviously he was very tired, but he was, well, I think he was okay. We never actually saw him at the end. We just saw him talking telepathically with Evangeline, but we never actually saw him. And I don't know for sure if the person she was talking to in her head was Jax. I'm not 100% convinced. But anyways, we don't know if he's actually okay or not. At least I don't know if he's actually okay or not. But I do like that, because I feel like in every other like vampire trope or a vampire story that we read, it's always either become a vampire or you're gonna die. And it's like the sun comes up and the vampire venom kind of goes away.
I didn't really have an opinion on the vampires being introduced or not. It just kind of added like another layer to this like fantasy world. Um, yeah, that's all I got really.
Oh, there was like, there was multiple mentions about the archer and the fox, right? So I was like, where's that gonna tie into everything? And like, Jax is totally into apples, like he eats apples a lot, and like just apples. I do connect to archers, I guess, because of like how many cartoons or movies or whatever, when like they put an apple on someone's head and the archer like shoots it off somebody's head. So I'm wondering if there's like any connection there. And her name is Evangeline Fox. So I don't know. I'm just I was trying to see, like, search for it on the internet to see like if that's a lore that got worked in, but I couldn't find anything about an archer and a fox. I might just be looking for the wrong terms. Chloe said, oh, and I remember Jax kept calling Evangeline Pet and Little Fox, which was too cringy. I just can't.
I actually like Little Fox. Listen, I am the person in this group, Chloe, if you don't know. I am the person who is most like, I'm not against romance, but I'm the one who always finds the romance super cringy in books, and I'm just like, I can't handle this, and I'm always the one who rates like the romance like super low amongst the three of us here, and so I would be with you, except for some reason I really enjoy like him calling her Little Fox, and I was like, that's so cute, and it just, I don't know, it also, I feel like the little pet nicknames kind of added to my illusion of their romance building up in my head, you know, and that they will have romance eventually.
We read another book. I think it was like the Ashley Poston book about the Briars and the whatever. I don't remember. I don't remember the title. But wasn't there a character in there that was like a fox who then yeah. So I'm just wondering if there's a connection here, like with that Archer and the Fox story. And I wish I could look up more. Like it seemed like there was a lot of lore in this book, and I just wanted to find like the lore that it was based on, but it's probably an amalgamation of like so many things that I was having trouble narrowing it down.
I think for me, like overall, not just about anything specific. For me, I was entertained, and I felt like the story kept my attention. There was a lot of different uh, fantastical fairy tale-esque moments. Um, but it wasn't something that I was like super in love with. So I was worried that I wasn't gonna like it, but I feel like overall like it was good. But I'm unsure if I'm going to want to read the second one. Maybe I'll have to see like how you feel about the second one, and maybe that'll make my decision.
I can't imagine not reading the second one at this point. Like, I need to know. I need to know if they end up together and why and what the hell's behind that door and what other fates there are. You guys can see my kitten sleeping in the background.
Is there anything else either of you guys wanted to discuss?
I don't know if I necessarily have any additional thoughts. Just that I am looking forward to the next one. Like, I was making a list of most anticipated releases for this year, and I put that one on there. Which is like honestly a surprise because I don't remember liking Caraval at all. Like and I thought this was like super readable. Like I liked the writing, so I can't imagine that Caraval was that different. I just must have been in like a completely different headspace when I tried reading it, I think.
You'll have to go back and see if you like it now. I've heard like I feel like I've heard more negative reviews than I have positive, but there's some people who are like dead set love Caraval.
Are you gonna reread it, Desiree?
Yeah, I'm gonna reread it. I only have Caraval. I don't have the other ones. I think like there was like a love interest in the book that I thought was just not likable. And I think that was part of the reason why I kind of didn't care. I was like, why is Scarlett obsessed with this person when they don't seem like the nicest person? I don't know. I don't remember like being that invested in the story because I don't think I liked any of the characters. Chloe says, I really wanted to love this book, but it just wasn't for me. The book cover looks so gorgeous. There are a few different ones.
I will say that I'm glad. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I will say that I'm glad I didn't get the pink version because that's the one that I really wanted. And I just ended up getting the regular version because now I'm not even sure if I want to keep it or not, but I guess we'll see.
There's like underneath hold on, let me see. Because when I took off the dust jacket, I was like, what? And it didn't really make sense to me.
I heard it has a secret cover. I heard that one has a secret cover, so I want to see it.
So it says recipes. I think this is the book that
oh, it's that spell book.
Yeah, it says Recipes of the Ancient North, translated for the first time in 500 years.
Yeah, that's the book that
Marisol, what was that her name?
Marisol bought. That supposedly is also a book of spells.
Yeah. So that was kind of interesting. I don't know if you want to move on to what we're reading for February.
Yeah, we can do. We can go ahead and do final thoughts. The cat. Do you want to go ahead and do yours?
Sure. So I enjoyed this book. I was surprised because I did not like Caraval. I think the reason why I enjoyed this book so much is because my expectations were so low. I did give it 4 stars, and I am going to read the next book. Whether I reread Caraval is still up in the air. I may reread the first book and just see how I feel and if I enjoy it before deciding if I want to read the actual whole trilogy. But yeah.
So I really enjoyed it. I also hadn't looked into it too much, so I think I kind of had no expectations. I wasn't expecting the book to be a certain way or a certain thing, and that probably helped me really enjoy it also. But I will likely try to read through the Caraval trilogy before this second book comes out, and I give it 5 stars.
And for me, overall, it kept my attention. And I enjoyed the audiobook probably mostly because it's done by Rebecca Soler, who does all of Marissa Meyer books. And she just has a really good voice for different characters. But overall, I gave it a 3.5 star. I thought it was good. It wasn't like the best thing I've ever read, but it wasn't just okay. It was kind of somewhere in the middle. And I'm not sure if I will read the second book. If it's a duology, I think it's a good possibility that I will read the second one, but we will see. So overall, I enjoyed it, and it was a 3.5 star. And yeah, that's it for that. Next month we're going to be reading for February, The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. I've heard a lot of good things about this book, but I also kind of want to go in blind with it. I just know the general gist of it. So I'm interested to see how we all enjoy this book because I feel like this is something different than what we normally read for book club. And our live show is going to be on Sunday, February 27th at 6 p.m. also on this channel. And we will have announcements on our Twitter and our Instagram. Both are at Booktube Chicks. And that's also where you will go for any updates regarding the live show. So this is what we'll be reading in February. And then, Kat, do you happen to have Pages and Pals off the top of your head or on your calendar what day that is?
Pages and Pals is on February 19th. I have it that it's at 8 p.m., but I'm not sure if that's what we agreed on. So that's up to you, Chloe. But it's supposed to be February 19th.
I don't work, so it can be 5 p.m. We'll double check with everybody in the chat, but it's definitely on February 19th. Okay. And that's going to be over on Kat's channel, which is linked down below. And then I guess the last thing for announcements is next weekend over on Desiree's channel. Her and I are going to be having our first live chat for the quarterly romance book club. And I don't have my book with me, but we've been reading Shipped by Angie Hockman. So yeah, lots of things happening all in the next couple of weeks. So make sure to check out both of these awesome ladies in the description below and go subscribe to their channels and make sure you join us for Pages and Pals and the live discussion of Shipped and later in February, the live discussion of The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Yeah. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. We will see you all in our next live show. Bye.
Bye.